It is not your fault to be born with nothing, but it is your fault, entirely, completely, undeniably your fault to die with nothing. I know that stings. I know that feels unfair. I know someone in this room wants to argue with me right now. Go ahead, I'll wait. But before you push back, I need you to understand what I mean by nothing. I'm not only talking about money. I'm talking about impact. I'm talking about growth. I'm talking about the version of yourself that you never became. Not because you couldn't, but because you didn't try. Dying with nothing means dying exactly the same person you were the day you decided to stop. Dying with nothing means your gifts, the ones only you carry, went to the grave unopened. Dying with nothing means your children inherit your fear instead of your fire. That is the real tragedy. Not poverty, not hardship, not a bad start. The tragedy is a life unlived by someone who was capable of living a great one.
Now, I want to talk about excuses. Not because I don't respect you, but because I do. We are the world's most creative storytellers, and the story we tell most brilliantly, most convincingly, most dangerously is the story of why we can't. I don't have the connections. I didn't go to the right school. Nobody from my neighborhood does that. The system is rigged. I'm too old, too young, too late, too broke. Some of those things are true. The system is imperfect. The playing field is not level. Bias is real. Obstacles are real. But let me show you something. Frederick Douglass was born enslaved, a literal human being considered property, and he taught himself to read, became one of the greatest orators of the 19th century, and changed a nation. Oprah Winfrey was born into rural poverty, abused, written off, and built a media empire from nothing but her voice and her will. Eliud Kipchoge grew up in a small village in Kenya with almost nothing and became the greatest marathon runner in human history. J.K. Rowling was a single mother on welfare, manuscript rejected 12 times, and created the most beloved story of a generation. None of them waited for the conditions to be perfect. None of them waited for the system to be fair. They moved with what they had from where they stood. What is your excuse?
Here is what nobody tells you about playing it safe. It is the most expensive choice you will ever make. We think that risk is dangerous. We think that staying small protects us. We think that staying in the familiar job, the familiar city, the familiar relationship, the familiar version of ourselves is safe. But safe is a slow death. Every year you spend not becoming who you're capable of being is a year you cannot get back. Every morning you wake up and say, tomorrow, you are spending the currency of your life on nothing. Time is the only resource that does not replenish. Money can be earned again. Relationships can be rebuilt. Opportunities can return. But Tuesday, May the 13th of this year, that day is gone forever. What did you do with it? The cost of comfort is potential. And potential, wasted, is a tragedy no one mourns loudly enough. We throw funerals for people. We should throw funerals for the dreams that died inside of people who are still alive.
So what does it take? What is the secret? Here is what I've learned from studying people who started with nothing and built something extraordinary. First, they decided. Not wished,
Not hoped, not prayed, and then went back to the couch. They made a decision, a real one, the kind that rearranges your entire life, the kind that makes you uncomfortable at dinner because you're different now, the kind that costs you some friendships because you've changed direction. A real decision has a cost. If it costs you nothing, it was just a wish. Second, they were consistent, not brilliant. We worship talent. We celebrate genius. But most extraordinary lives are built not by the most talented, but by the most relentless. Showing up when it's hard, working when no one is watching, refining when everyone else has stopped. It is boring. It is unglamorous. It is the truth. Third, they use their pain as fuel. Every scar you carry is a source of power if you stop treating it as a wound. The hunger you grew up with, that is your motivation. The people who doubted you, that is your engine. The doors that were slammed in your face, that is your direction. Find the window. Your story is not a liability. Your story is your competitive advantage.
I want you to close your eyes for a moment. Imagine yourself 20 years from now. Not the version that played it safe, the version that went all in. That person is standing in a room. Maybe it's a home they built. Maybe it's a business they created. Maybe it's a community they changed. Maybe it's just a family, children or grandchildren who know they are loved and have everything they need. That person is at peace, not because everything was easy, but because they gave everything. They look back at the journey. They remember the nights they wanted to quit, the mornings they didn't know how, the seasons when the weight was almost too much. And they are grateful, not just for the outcome, but for the person the struggle built. That person is available to you. That life is possible for you, but only if you choose it. Only if you begin. So here is my challenge to you today. Not next week, not when conditions are perfect. Today, write down one dream you've been afraid to say out loud. One, just one. Then, write down the first tiny step toward it. Not the whole plan, not the funding, not the network, just the first step. And take it today. Because the distance between who you are and who you are capable of becoming is not money. It is not opportunity. It is not luck. It is one decision, consistently acted upon over time. That's it. That is the entire secret. Decide, act, repeat. You were not given a perfect start, but you were given something more powerful, the ability to choose your next step. It is not your fault that you were born with nothing, but it is your fault if you die with nothing, because you had everything it took. You just never believed it. The world doesn't need another person who could have been great. The world needs you, fully awake, fully committed, fully alive, doing the work, building the dream, becoming the story. Your beginning does not determine your ending.